What's up, everybody? Sam Smyers here. A few months ago, Jack Gordon reached out to me and he wanted me to help him with a YouTube video that he was working on.
Could you tell if a Taylor Swift song was secretly AI?
Because what you're listening to right now isn't real.
And you may have heard this song this week.
Jack had seen my video where I detail how you can take an artist's vocals and convert them using AI to sound like any other artist's vocals, such as The Weeknd, Drake, or even Taylor Swift.
If you find somebody to sing a song, and it can be any song, and then come to me, I think it sound like anyone you want.
In Jack's video, he had an idea where he wanted me to take an artist's vocals, convert them into Taylor Swift's vocals, and then produce a song around those vocals to sound like an unreleased Taylor Swift song.
This is a banger. Oh my god.
He would then take that song that I produced and post it onto social media and allow fans to react to see whether they thought that this song was an unreleased song by Taylor Swift or whether it was something else, like maybe it was AI generated.
Slower than she normally is. It's her style, but it's
I'll post a link to that video down below where you can see the results of that experiment. In this video, I mainly just want to detail how I produced the song and how I was able to channel Jack Antonoff to make a song that sounded like a Taylor Swift song. I just want to play the track first because it was only about 45 seconds or so that I needed to make to post it onto social media. It didn't even need to be a full track. So let me just play you what I made.
Walking around this vacant house, so sad since you burned it down. These walls have seen all your rights. Hate it when I speak my mind. Told me that entire tribe you'd like me better if I stay quiet.
So that was really it, just that like 45-second clip, and then I just repeated some of the vocals so that he could use the track for his video. So let's talk about the vocals. I don't want to go into how I converted them because I have a whole video detailing how to do that, so go ahead and watch that video. Let me just play you how the vocals sound. I want to get into the mixing of them. This is a dry vocal that I had after it was converted. And the conversion was pretty good. I think it did pretty well.
Walking around this vacant house.
You can hear how, though, that walk sounds a bit weird. So it's not perfect when you do these conversions. They don't convert perfectly.
So sad since you burned it down.
So that phrase sounds pretty good. There's some other phrases that sounded a bit weird to me, like this one.
Quiet.
Where she says quiet sounded a bit weird. I just really had to work around that, try to mix it so that those imperfections from converting the vocal sounded, were kind of like buried in the track or weren't so noticeable. So let's kind of just go through how I mix this. Let's go through this lead vocal and we'll turn on the effects. And let me just go ahead and mute all the effects and we can add them on one by one so we can hear what they all do to the vocal. Now, the first thing I did was I just added on a bit of a low cut.
Walking around.
Didn't really need it. These were really well recorded vocals, like from the original singer. They were really well recorded. Probably recorded on like a condenser microphone, not on like a dynamic microphone like this, because they're already pretty bright. After that, I added on a 1176 style compressor and then an LA2A style compressor. I just have these ones from Native Instruments. You probably have one from like Waves or even UAD that makes these versions.
Walking around this vacant house, so sad since you burned it down.
So maybe like 1 to 2 dB of gain reduction on these vocals, nothing too crazy. Then I've got some soothe going on because I'm just taking out some of the harshness around like 8K or so.
These walls have seen all your rights.
And notice I'm not doing any brightening of these vocals because they're already pretty bright. What I'm doing is I'm just taking down any of the brightness or the harshness or any just resonances. Like that's what I'm doing with this Pro Q3.
These walls have seen all your rights.
So there's some peaks around there that I was taking out. And then I've got the de-esser on top of that, FabFilter Pro DS. And then I have 2 instances of reverb. So I have the Sanctuary reverb and the ambience reverb.
These walls have seen all your rights.
Relatively light reverb on these vocals, didn't need to like layer them too thick. So that's it for that lead vocal. And then after that, I had to do some things with the vocals because I only had that lead vocal. What I did is I generated a harmony using Melodyne. And with Melodyne, what is cool about Melodyne is you can transfer the vocal into Melodyne and then kind of raise up the notes so that they're like a bit higher and create harmonies in Melodyne. So this red version, I'm missing the actual transfer data, but this red version is the harmony on top of this lower version. So I just Melodyne this vocal, just duplicated it, Melodyned it, and it sounded like this.
These walls have seen all your rights.
So it sounds pretty fake by itself, but once you layer it pretty quietly underneath this main vocal.
These walls have seen all your rights.
I mean, it sounds pretty realistic, maybe a bit too auto-tuned on that last note, but I think it was good enough. And then after that, I created like a double.
These walls have seen all your rights.
And let's play that with the lead vocal.
These walls have seen all your rights.
And that sounds like an actual double take. And what I used was this program called RevoicePro, where you can load in your original vocal and then have it be converted to sound like a doubled vocal. And this is a really cool tool for also like timing harmonies or layers. Like if I did have multiple layers of vocals and wanted to fix and adjust the timing, RevoicePro is a really useful tool for that. They are the makers of Vocaline, and RevoicePro is kind of like the studio version of the Vocaline, so there's more features. And so I just used RevoicePro to generate this double. And so it just took the original vocal, adjusted the tuning on some of the notes, and adjusted the timing of some of the notes to make it sound like an actual double. So I'm doing some like creative things just to stack this vocal to make it sound a bit more interesting because I only had this one vocal take.
These walls have seen all your rights.
So now it sounds like a really nice, lush vocal. And I've got this little vocal echo as well here just to make it fill in the empty space in the track.
Rights. Rights.
And then you can hear I've got like a little lead sound, and then there's like some ear candy going on. So let's kind of go through the track now. So that's just like all I did for the vocal, just to get to mix better into the track. As I was checking out Taylor Swift's latest release, I was listening to Midnight's, and I was listening to this one called Mastermind because it was a similar tempo. And the tempo of this track that I'm working on was like 128 and it had the kick on like all fours. And this is similar tempo as to this Mastermind. It also had like the kick on all fours. So I was using this song as like a reference as I was making this track, this AI track. I've got this little like nice crash echoey thing just to introduce the track. I have this reverse cello sound, which I think I just heard from one of the tracks in her album, and I just copied it. Kind of like this reverse rising cello to introduce the verse.
Walking around this vacant house.
And I felt like when I was listening to the basses that Jack Antonoff did, they all sounded pretty like dirty and not very well mixed. What I did is I just used like a serum and did like a respace sound using some saw waves, and looks like just this like respace sound, and then I threw it into mono using a utility plugin. So this is what it sounds like stereo. And you can hear that phasing that is happening, which happens with a respace. And when I put it into mono, then we can hear that phasing, but it's like in the center of the mix. And that was just similar to how I felt like some of the basses were in a lot of that Midnight's album. Then I have some saturation, the RC20 for some extra distortion, the Pro MB just to multi-band compress that bass, a bit more EQ, and a bit of ambience reverb. Just to give it some space. And then I'm doing some sidechain compression.
Walking around this vacant house, so sad since you burned it down.
And then I just layer it with a cello little section here. Which is just in Contact, like your basic cello sample library from Native Instruments. And I'm going up a note instead of down. So on the bass, I go down the note, and on the cello, I go up. So that's something that you can do is you can hit the same note, but not go the same octave just to make it sound like a bit more interesting. Then I had this Diva synth. That is a preset. It sounds like a vocal, and I use it to layer that vocal melody and just layer underneath that vocal melody here.
These walls have seen all your rights.
And then here's a little ear candy string falling noise. Pretty cool. Added some effects to it like echo and some reverb. Just like a little ear candy thing I thought was cool. And then this lead sound I use like a Juno synth, the Juno 6V from Arturia, just assuming that maybe Jack Antonoff had this in his studio and he was actually using this synth, using these like vintage synths. Just like a little nice melody after the vocal to fill in that empty space after the vocal. And then these pads are really cool. So let me play you these pads. I'll play you I bounced them to audio. Let me play you the audio so you can hear the pad loop. And that's what all the pads sound like. Let me open up the MIDI and what I used. I was playing around with this augmented voices from Arturia because I didn't ever have an excuse to use it before until now, because I don't really have a use for these in like dance music. But cool, like an atmospheric sound. I have this like pretty low in the mix. And then that one is layered with this ARP. Pretty simple ARP sound, but it's from this augmented voices again, and those together. And then after that, I just have like a choir sound. Using this Farlight from Native Instruments, and this is a granular synth, and it uses like vocal samples to produce these atmospheric sounds. So that's a pretty cool synth sound. And I think those are kind of like the backbone of the track are these like pads. So these are really cool pads. Now let's get into the drums, and the drums in that like Mastermind track were pretty minimal. So I wanted to keep these drums pretty minimal. I just have like a kick, pretty punchy and pretty loud in the mix.
Walking around this vacant house, so sad since.
And then I bring in like these brushes later on and to give it like a country feel, kind of like old school Taylor Swift.
Hate it when
I think that was just like from a jazz pack. And then to accent the 2 and 4 a bit more, added on this hat. Because if you notice, I'm not using any claps or snares for the 2 and 4 beat. So I just added like a bit more of an accent using just like a hat sound. And let's play these drums together. Pretty simple, pretty effective.
hate it when I speak my mind. Told me that entire tribe, you'd like me better if I stay quiet.
So yeah, and then the mastering just has some things on the mastering, putting the bass into mono using the utility plugin, solid bass compressor, a bit of EQ in that low mid range. The vintage tape the Vitalizer just to brighten it up a bit, and then the Pro L2. So let me know in the comments whether you think if this is a convincing Taylor Swift style track. If you do want to check out that full Jack Gordon video, I'll put a link down below so you can watch that full video. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a like, and also please subscribe to my channel if you are not yet subscribed. And if you'd like to check out any of my serum preset packs, head on over to store.smyers.com.